Hello, I'm going to be teaching you how to make a dollhouse edit using GIMP of a build that you've made in The Sims 4. GIMP is a photo manipulation software similar to Photoshop, and it's pretty great because it's open source and it's free. So if you don't want to pay for an Adobe subscription and just want to get some editing done, it's pretty fantastic to do just that. So let's assume that you have downloaded GIMP off the website and you are now sitting pretty on this opening screen. This is how it looks on a Mac. It likely looks very similar on Windows. And of course, the first thing you'll need to do is to open your file. So, go to File, Open, and drag in, or select the image that you want to use. You can also, if you have it in a display like this, you can just drag and drop it in. So, the basis of most functions that you would do in Photoshop or GIMP is centered around layers, and this is the layer menu right here. Right now we only have one layer, and it's the image you dragged in. What you'll do first, after dragging in your image, is right-click and say Duplicate Layer. What you've now done is stacked the same image on top of itself. So now you have two here that just looks the same because they're the same photo. And from here, you can go ahead, make sure you're on this top one highlighted. Go over to this nice little lasso tool, it's called the Free Select tool, and begin drawing the shape you would like your edit to take. And I don't mean like the crop, I just mean the border that you want your dollhouse edit to take. So as you can see, I'm now drawing in these lines and just right along the edge of the wall there. And now I've closed it off. So I can tell that it's all selected because when my mouse is still, you can kind of see that the dashed lines are moving a little bit. What this has done is it has selected everything inside those dashed lines. Everything on the outside doesn't matter, but it does because now go over to Select and say Invert. And you've gone ahead and selected all that stuff that you previously hadn't on the outside. From here, say Edit and Clear. If you have white like this on the outside, great job. And from here, go ahead back to this Layers menu, right-click, and say Add Layer Mask. It should automatically be set to white, full opacity, and say Add. You'll want to make sure, and it should automatically be done for you, that you are right now selected on this little white rectangle. And if you're ever not sure, just kind of toggle between them. See how the white rectangle gets bigger because it's highlighted by that white border? That's what you want. Now that you're here, go over here to the Tools menu and select the Paintbrush. You can use this to kind of mess with the size. It doesn't really matter. Bigger's better in this case because you can very nicely wipe it out. So it might look like you're just redoing what you just took time to undo, but what you're actually doing is telling this top layer, and you can see it over here, to keep everything that you haven't painted, that's represented by the white in this little small representation, and keep that on top. And it's telling everything that's been telling the program to go down a layer for everything that's been painted black, which is helpful because now you can go down to the second layer, go ahead and highlight it, and from here you can either do Command A or Control A, I think, on a Windows machine, or you can go to the very top and say Select All, and then back to here, right-click and say Scale Layer. I am going to scale it up, and I think I'm gonna just kind of pick a random number. So let me go with 4,500. I'll say 4,500, And whoa, you can see that it's made this bottom layer bigger, and this top layer has been untouched. From here, you can, if you'd like, and I would probably recommend, going to the top layer and doing the same thing but sizing it down. So layer 2, scale layer. So scale layer, I'll pick 2700. Scale. Go back to this bottom layer, make sure it's highlighted, and go ahead and say filters, blur. You can kind of have fun messing with these. I think the easiest is just to say Gaussian blur, which is kind of a uniform blur across the grid. And very blurry, less blurry. I like it right about, let's say there. Nice. So say okay. You might see this thing right here a little bit. If that's the case, go back to this image. You can lightly paintbrush it. See? And that'll take away any problems. If you accidentally do something you don't want to do, you can hit undo or go over here and swap the colors and it will bring it back. Now that you're here, you can have a little bit of fun doing some stylization of how you might want to, for instance, give this image, the smaller image that you have front and center, a little bit more of a border or something like that. There are two ways to do this that are somewhat easy. The first is to go here, make sure you're highlighted on this top layer on the image and not the layer mask. And you can draw a path, which is this symbol right here on design. And you can kind of do the same thing that you did before. And just kind of follow that line. And it won't let you get too close, but you can kind of overlap it by ending the path right there and then clicking and dragging it up by holding it. And you would say stroke path, solid color. This is how thick you could say it would be, stroke. So it's black right now because I had this set like, if you wanted to get specifics of colors, you would go to the paintbrush and then double click and click on it like this. So let me show you. If I wanted to do, for instance, like a light blue and I'm on this stroke path. Before I went to stroke path, I would go to paintbrush, pick a nice light blue, go back to stroke path, design, follow the border, and then say stroke path, stroke. And I can see this little nice light blue border. Another way to do it, if you did not like the stroke path method, which by the way, it looks like that, would be to take this image and then once again say duplicate layer. Then you would go to this middle layer right here. You would scale layer and just size it up a little bit. You don't need to do it too much, do it to your taste. I'll just say 2800 scale. And now you can see I have a copy of that image that's slightly bigger around here. And you could go to image, no, you would go to, apologies. You would go to color, so this colors tab right here. And you could go to levels, and then your output level, just take this black arrow and bring it all the way to the right. And you could play with that a little bit. So let's say I wanted to make it smaller, a little bit smaller. Let me go to 2750, just like that. Great, and now at this point, you're looking at a pretty nice dollhouse. You could, for instance, mess with saturation a little bit if you wanted to, just making things to your taste, sliding up the scale a bit. Ooh, that's a little hot. Like right about there. You can also mess with all of these settings. I like levels, and I would just bring up the white a little bit. A bit more. And of course, you can adjust the background the same or differently. You can also edit these colors before you separate them as to layers, so you don't have to do them individually. I like to do them individually, personally. Okay, and now as a last touch, I like to just add my Instagram handle, because we live in a world where people really enjoy screenshotting things and not crediting original makers. So it's nice to just put in your name, I think. So I'm going to put in Essie Simsier. I'm going to drag the text to be the top layer, just like that. And I can go here to be able to move things. So now I'm on the thing. Go back to this text box, select everything by double clicking. You can either use this interface or this interface to size down your font, for instance. Make sure, again, that all your letters are selected. Let's do 40. And it still has that light blue. I'm gonna make it white just so it's visible right now. And to change the text, here I don't have the font I normally use on this account, so let me do this one right now. This seems fun. As fun as it can be for a standard font. And back to here. I'm gonna just move it right there. And there you have it. That is the final image without selection border. So Command A, everything is selected. And that's the final image. You may want to crop. I like cropping 8x10 or a square depending on the photo. So you do that by going to, I think, any layer, but probably do your top layer. This crop tool right here, for what I'm looking at, I would say fixed. And I would say eight by 10. Aspect ratio. 8 by 10. Hit enter, and then swap it if you need to. 10 by 8 would be horizontal, not vertical. And then you can kind of mess with these corners to keep the aspect ratio as you need them while also resizing. So this looks about center to me. Hit enter, and there's the final image. So I hope you've enjoyed learning how to use GIMP to create a Dollhouse edit for whatever social media platform or your own enjoyment. Perfectly valid. And have a great day. Thanks.